lot, but still the questions were hounding me. What happens when you die? Where is mum? Can I still talk to her? If there is some place we go to when you die, it must be a place we come from before we get here. Like, what's that all about? And why are we here? Those sorts of things. But it took, I didn't get those questions answered when I was a teenager. Like, it took a journey of at least 20, 25 years to really answer most of those questions. But mum used to come to me in dreams and tell me she wasn't dead. And I'm like, you're not dead. And at the time I'm dreaming about her, I'm thinking I'm alive. I'm not realizing I'm having a dream. So people call those astral dreams, or when you're in another world, like an astral world, like there's second Earth, which is a replica of Earth in the astral plane, which a lot of people go to when they die. I'm sure you know this, being a part of IANS, and they call that heaven. And so you can go there and be with your relatives in this astral world, and it feels as physical as this world. It feels as real as this world. Like, one of my best friends committed suicide when she was in her 30s, and I was hanging out with her in this astral world. And I remember I was hugging her and feeling the hardness of her body, like it wasn't like a spirit, like she was see-through. I'm like, I can hug you. Why can I hug you? Because I knew I wasn't in my physical body. And she's like, yeah, right. Yeah. It's as real as physical Earth. So I'm hanging out with mum, and she's telling me she's not dead. And I would wake up into this reality and think, I have no idea what's going on, because I thought she was dead. And now, I thought I was with her, and now I realize she's still dead. And that confused me for the longest time.
Hello, everyone. This is Kathy Mason from MasonWorks Marketing, here on my new show, For Soul Illumination, with my new friend, KAren Swain. Hi, KAren. How are you?
Hi, Kathy. So lovely to meet you.
I'm so excited. So for you guys that don't know her, I think you're going to be really, really pleased that you've discovered KAren, because she has been doing this incredible spiritual work in Australia for, did you say 14 years or more?
Oh, no, I've been doing it for 30 years, but I've actually been doing it for lifetimes. In this life, at least 30 years.
Oh, well, I'm going to just say you're a teacher of deliberate creation. You're a spiritual mentor. You're an educator. You're an inspirational speaker, which of course you are, a host of Accentuate The Positive Media, and author of Return to Love and Awakened by Death, and creator of the Awakening Soul book series. And you activate, accelerate, acclimate, and accentuate the new world teachers. So,
right.
so let's start with this, because we are very similar in a lot of our mission and goals, right?
Absolutely. Somebody said, come up with an elevator pitch, and I'm like, oh, what? What you do. So I thought about that for years, and that activate, acclimate, accentuate the new world teachers. I think there's 4 AAs. That was my elevate. What do you do? I do this. But you do the same thing. You activate, acclimate, accelerate, and accentuate the new world teachers. So the accentuation is like what you'll do with your show, is accentuate, getting them out there, accentuating who they are and what they do. Yeah. So yeah, I just want to do one correction. It's actually KAren Swain, the way I pronounce her name. It's okay, don't apologize. But yeah, the KAren thing, anyone that's ever seen me before will go, oh my God, she's going into the name thing again. So that was my mother's doing. She was very insistent that people call me KAren and not KAren, which used to embarrass me to no end. And I didn't actually correct people for the longest time. And then I realized that sound has a profound effect on our frequency.
Right.
And the way we pronounce things actually makes a difference, the way we say things.
Oh, so thank you.
The R sound is the frequency of the heart chakra. So when you do the heart A, ka, it actually activates that R sound. The ka was also the name the Egyptians gave to the soul. The ka body is the part of us that incarnates into different worlds and different physical bodies. yeah, that sort of astral form, I suppose you could call it, part of the soul. So yeah, and I realized that maybe there was like some meaning behind mum being so insistent, because I went to school with 5 Karens and I'm still surrounded by Karens, like Karens everywhere. But yeah, I pronounce it
Well,
Karen.
I'm so glad you corrected me. And I have to say, with all of the interviews I've done, people are always correcting me, and I'm fine with it, because that's the only hard part, I think, for me with all these interviews, is not mispronouncing people's names. And
I
then
know.
I went ahead and did it anyway. Sorry.
Yeah, that's all right. I butcher people's names all the
Oh
time
gosh.
too. But Kathy's
I won't.
amazing. You're amazing what you're doing. Like, we've been yakking for probably almost an hour now, just talking, because we're
Yeah.
so aligned in what we do,
Yeah. Well,
helping people get their music out of them and spreading consciousness, raising consciousness by
okay, so,
helping
well, I'm
others.
going to ask you to share a little bit about your journey so that people can understand how you became a teacher. Well, first, how you learned what you know,
Yeah.
and then your journey to be a teacher about it. Okay.
Well, with only 30 minutes to go, I'm going to really shorten it down. Basically, a kid that would ask a million questions to parents that were not interested in answering them. Why are babies born in sin? I don't understand why you have to baptize a baby. What happens when you die? What's heaven all about? So, brought up in a secular home with no religious upbringing at all. I used to quiz my parents endlessly with questions, and they would just get frustrated and say, I don't know, ask your father. I don't know, ask your mother. And those questions got even more intense when my mother got sick. Like, why do we get sick? Why do people get sick? Then she dies. I'm a teenager. At this point, most teenagers stop, they start getting into things like, how can I get a boyfriend? How can I buy new shoes? Where can I go the latest party? And, all that sort of stuff. So I was thinking about that a lot, but still the questions were hounding me. What happens when you die? Where is mum? Can I still talk to her? If there is some place we go to when you die, it must be a place we come from before we get here. Like, what's that all about? And why are we here? Those sorts of questions.
Yeah.
But I didn't get those questions answered when I was a teenager. Like, it took a journey of at least 20, 25 years to really answer. We hear, those sorts of questions.
Yeah.
But me in dreams and tell me she wasn't dead. And I'm like, you're not dead. And at the time I'm dreaming about her, I'm thinking I'm alive. I'm not realizing I'm having a dream. So people call those astral dreams, or when you're in another world, like an astral world, like there's second Earth, which is a replica of Earth in the astral plane, which a lot of people go to when they die. I'm sure you know this, being a part of IANS, and they call that heaven. And so you can go there and be with your relatives in this astral world, and it feels as physical as this world. It feels as real as this world. Like, one of my best friends committed suicide when she was in her 30s, and I was hanging out with her in this astral world. And I remember I was hugging her and feeling the hardness of her body, like it wasn't like a spirit, like she was see-through. I'm like, I can hug you. Why can I hug you? Because I knew I wasn't in my physical body. And she's like, yeah, right. Yeah. It's as real as physical Earth. So I'm hanging out with mum, and she's telling me she's not dead. And I would wake up into this reality and think, I have no idea what's going on, because I thought she was dead. And now, I thought I was with her, and now I realize she's still dead. And that confused me for the longest time. So it kept me on the path of asking. So long story short, Diane, I read a lot of books and a lot of stuff happened, because when you ask, you will receive. And I had some amazing experiences in these other worlds and with spirit communicating with me. Opened and closed, got married, had a baby, opened and closed a furniture and homeware shop, and was massaging to earn money, because I had done 5 years naturopathy. So I was well versed in massage, used to massage Hollywood movie stars, because I worked in the film industry, putting myself through naturopathy school, worked catering and doing makeup and all sorts of things in the film industry. So I knew a lot of people in the film industry. And when Hollywood actors used to come to Sydney, I was a mobile masseuse. I used to go and massage them in hotel rooms. That's another long story. But basically, when I put my hands on people, at this point, I've opened and closed a furniture shop, and I'm still asking questions. Who am I and why am I here? And the universe is answering by giving me all this information about people. So I'd always had information about people. You know, when you talk to psychics, they don't actually think it's anything different or strange when it's just your default setting that you look at somebody and you know all about them. Like I always did that, but I didn't think that that was, I thought that was normal. That was different. Didn't realize other people didn't do that. Mind you, I had someone on my show this week who could see spirits like Lorna Byrne. You know, she could see spirit as clearly as people. And as a kid, she didn't know which was the spirit and which was the human. I've never had that. I never had that with the physical eyes. I just could feel people. I could feel who they are, and I knew their fears, and I knew what they were feeling, and I just knew people. And so that expanded exponentially when I'm massaging. Culminated is that though I'm massaging this very famous Hollywood movie star. She's got a picture of a guru on her bookshelf. She's in a hotel room in Sydney, a long-haired guru. And I get the image of Yogananda. I didn't know anything about Indian gurus at the time. I think it was Yogananda, and he had his beads on and his long dark hair. And I'm massaging this woman. I'm like, what is all this Indian guru thing about? Why do people have pictures of Indian gurus with them? You know, I don't get that. And my crown chakra started to expand, Kathy. And it was like I felt it physically. It's like I felt like my head was going. Oh. And I felt like my ears were touching the walls. And I'm massaging this woman going, what is going on? As I felt my head physically expanding. And then I started channeling. I told her why she was born into the family. She was born, very famous family, what she was here to do on earth, why she was having the pain. Like I just gave her this whole download of, you know, because she was asking questions. She was in back pain, and she was going from healer to healer to healer, asking, you know, how can I heal my back pain? And so I started channeling. First time I channeled, I was in my early 20s. And it didn't sound like anything different than me talking to you now. It was just me talking as I do now. It's look, I still channel pretty much most of the time, but it's not like I don't go into trance and don another personality. And I left I left her room, her hotel room, thinking, what the hell happened? Because the whole time I was talking, the little me that was pushed out of the side for this to happen was screaming, shut up. You don't know anything. Stop talking. But they just moved me aside. They just got me out of the way. And I had a headache, like a throbbing headache for about 3 days after that. I went to see my acupuncturist because my consciousness was not acclimated, was not ready to receive that amount of frequency or light. Right. And so I had to stop criticizing myself and stop asking questions and being so insecure. Like I had to shift my frequency in order to meet that amount of energy. So that put me on an intense personal growth course where I did, you know, personal growth and got over a lot of fear and resentment and hatred, and forgave my father who beat me up and put me in hospital, and forgave my mother for dying, and forgave all the boyfriends I had, you know, did all that stuff, like all that personal, which absolutely, you know, lifted my frequency and got over a lot of karma, as they say. And then after the what happened after doing the naturopathy, I kept thinking, I haven't learned anything that's going to change the world. There's more to this. So I kept seeking, and then I did a lot of healing, energy healing courses. And in one of the courses, we were learning to look inside the body and read people's spirit guides and read their energy. And I had this aha moment, this unbelievable realization that I've been doing that my whole life. And I always thought it was something strange, like psychic ability, if it was for the special or the gifted, you know, like I had this idea, and I realized, well, the guides have showed me that we're all incredibly psychic beings. It's just that we're under this social conditioning that it's woo-woo or strange or different. And so we put it in that it's for somebody else basket. But when I teach people now to expand their abilities, people call them gifts. I don't call them gifts because if it's a gift, then we're all gifted. They find it so easy, and they're like, wow, I didn't realize how easy this would be. And because we're looking for something outside of who we think we are, but we're all operating psychically all the time. I remember reading in my 20s in the Seth books, Seth said that humanity is operating telepathically all the time. Yeah. You couldn't drive on your roads if you were not. And I thought, wow, that just blew my mind. Like, of course we are. Of course we are. We're all operating, but we're not conscious of it. But we're feeling, we get impulses, but it's just so normal, and we're not taught to focus on it. We're taught to focus on other things. And so I think there's this huge movement as we're tuning in and learning who we are, when we're expanding these empathic, telepathic gifts. And, you and I have been speaking to people for years that do this, like they've come from other worlds and other planets, that do this so effortlessly. So we all do that intuition thing, who's on the phone when the phone rings and all that sort of stuff. But there are some people like Kevin Briggs and the woman I had on the show the other day who can consciously, like Kevin, can consciously leave his body at will and hang out with his dead relatives in the spirit world and project his consciousness, remote view. Like, he just has all that online, and he had that all his whole life. So there are amazing people on the planet that just do all that sort of stuff effortlessly. Yes. And see spirit, and now I do it all effortlessly. And I really feel this whole channeling thing that we go into, the way people learn to channel, we're channeling all the time. We have to demystify this and be so connected to the source of who we are, our higher self or our soul, our divinity, or whatever you want to call it, our spiritual team, that having a conversation with them is just like having a conversation with you. It's just there all the time. When you need it, when you want to ask a question, there's the answer. Just, you get yourself out of the way, like they did when I was massaging the Hollywood movie star. Just get your little questioning mind out of the way and allow those messages to come through. And now it's not a process for me. I ask and it's given. I ask and it's given. I ask and it's given. And that's the name of that beautiful book written by Abraham Hicks, Esther and Jerry Hicks. The first book I think they put out was called Ask and It Is Given. Yeah. So a lot of people are asking to expand their psychic abilities, or to be more connected to their spirit guides, or to be able to see their past lives, or talk to their mother in spirit, or whatever you want to do. And ask and it is given. If you're asking for that, then the universe is saying, you've got it down. You just need to get your conditioned mind out of the way, unravel that conditioning that this is not you. So that was
that was great.
Intense.
And so many things we could talk about. How do you feel the energies are supporting the awakening right now? For the longest period, I felt like the first step is that humanity is going to become empathic. And these
humanity is empathic,
but they don't recognize it, or they don't allow it. Well, there's those of us that use it every day to be in service. Mm-hmm. But there's others that don't realize that they walk into a room and pick up the frequency, and they don't have the idea of how to manage what's mine or theirs. But I think it's our path to oneness. That's what I'm hoping. Have you seen that with all of this new photonic energy that's here, and all the opportunities now to read about near-death experiences, and actually a lot of the ancient traditions and religions have a path to consciousness that is what we're rediscovering now. But I just wondered if you have seen, I know for you and I, because of our experience of knowing for so long, it's different than the people that are just waking up right now. And I really feel that part of the grace of what's happening with all the changes is that humanity will become kinder, because they won't be able to separate what's mine and what's theirs. Do you agree?
Absolutely. I was talking about this at lunch yesterday, Kathy. So humanity is empathic. Every problem that we face in this world is for one reason only, and that is distorted thinking, or wrong thinking, or unaligned thinking. And so people like businessmen, okay, I won't put it all in one bun. So classically, we put them in the man, that is not feeling. He's focused on his business and getting it done, and he doesn't want to, that touchy-feely stuff. He doesn't want to know how people feel. He just, and women can be like that too. It doesn't have to be men. So they're just so focused on the task at hand that they push aside their feelings. But if they fall in love, are they feeling something? So what's empathy? Empathy is a heightened sense of feeling your emotions, right? So if they fall in love, are they feeling something? Well, yes, they're feeling, so they're empathic too. Everyone is empathic. They're just not focused on it. They're focused in another way. And they're focused in another way because they've deemed the touchy-feely stuff as too feminine or too woo-woo. And so you get to create your world through what you believe. And if you believe that you don't want to, that you're not a feeling person or an empathic person, then that's what you get to create. But the truth is, we are all born empathic, psychic beings. And that is the way we operate when we come into this world. It is the only way we operate, in fact, because all our other senses have to come online. Taste, smell, touch, hearing, sight, all of them come online over a period of days or weeks or hours, depending on the person and what they're choosing, sometimes months. Watch a baby. How old are you when you feed baby food like 3, 4, 5 months? Watch a baby taste things for the first time. So all those physical senses. So how are we operating if we don't have the physical senses online? We feel connected to our mother. We don't understand that the mother and I are different. We feel one with the physical presence of our mother. And we know everything she's thinking and feeling, and we're telepathically communicating with our mothers as babies. So we're all doing it when we enter this earth, and then we're taught out of it and we're conditioned.
That's right.
So the whole way that we regain our abilities to navigate this world and the cosmos is to unravel the social conditioning and to change the way we think and the beliefs that we hold as a human race. And that's what I was saying, that we're not psychic, that it's difficult, that you have to be born gifted. Like we have all this vernacular around it, that it's something strange. But if you take back your identity, I am a psychic, empathic being, and I know what people feel. I feel you when when you're sad, I feel it, or when you're happy, I feel it. I know how to feel. So the first port of call in guidance is our emotional guidance systems. We were given the ability to feel emotion, not to torture us, but to navigate our thinking. So when we think a thought that is not in alignment with what we're asking for, and usually we're asking for a good time, money, love, success, whatever it is you're asking for. When you ask for something, you think in the having of it, it will feel good. So ultimately, you're asking to feel good. And when you have a thought that is not in alignment with what you're asking for, you feel the discord as negative emotion. So we have that first port of call to our spiritual guidance is our emotional guidance system. When I feel bad, it's an indication that I'm thinking something that is not in alignment with my source, with my higher self, with my powers and abilities to create this world. It's not in alignment with what I'm asking for. So now we're given the choice in this bad feeling thought. I'm depressed, I feel lazy, I'm sad, I'm frustrated, I'm angry. I'm listening to the guidance that's being given to me through my emotional body. The frequency, the energy is being received as emotion. And now I have an opportunity to change that. How do I change that? I change the way I'm seeing things, the way I'm looking at it, what I'm believing to be true. So this person cut me off in traffic. Bloody hell, you bloody bull car drivers. And yeah, we're thinking bloody him, yeah, like this. So what does that feel like? It doesn't feel good. So could there be a better thought? Maybe that person's rushing because their mother's dying in hospital. Forgive those who turn the other cheek. We've had many spiritual teachers give us this, in so many ways. So forgiveness, turn the other cheek. We are one. And there's just been so many teachings to show us who we are as exalted extensions of source energy here with incredible abilities to navigate and create the world that we want, to jump timelines, to quantum jump, to create a new society. And so there's a groundswelling, as you know, Kathy, of teachers on the planet
Yeah.
that are helping us do that. And I think you and I, want to cry, have a mission to sort of help the teachers,
Yes,
to help the
yes.
teachers get their music out of them, even though you and I both have those abilities to channel and to be psychic. You know, we've expanded those abilities, and we too do what all the people can do that we have on our shows, but we feel this responsibility to help those that are helping others. Yeah.
Well, I think that a lot of this is trust. A lot of it comes from you reading the Seth books and the Conversation with God books with Neil Donald Walsh. And I did all of this. I mean, I did the marketing plan for Humanities Team with
Oh,
Neil
wow.
in Portugal and in Greece. So,
Wow.
yeah. So, yeah, I mean, we have a very similar, isn't that interesting?
It's very
But
interesting.
how did you learn to trust? Because the reason why I ask is I hid my superpowers until like 20 years ago. I mean, I knew I could read other people, I could help serve them without I could hold up a mirror so they could see themselves without me advising them. But how did you learn? Because trust is still one of those things. Like, how did you learn to trust, and especially during this changing time? Could you talk a little bit about that?
Absolutely. Trust is completely tied up in your sense of identity. Who do you think you are? So if you believe that you're the businesswoman, the mother, the father, the friend, you know, where are you placing your identity? How there was, you know, Brandon Bayes, who created
The journey.
The Journey at the time. God, I don't know how many years ago it was. I helped her put The Journey, first came out to Australia. I met her in Hawaii in 95. And it was at the time where she was breaking up with her husband. And I did a session, like a little class with him in Sydney. And he did this thing with us. It's like, go into meditation and ask yourself, who am I? Who am I? And all these things will come up. I'm female, I'm this age, my name is this, I'm this tall, I'm this weight. But just keep asking yourself, who am I? Who am I? Who am I? Who am I? And when you keep coming up with all these ideas of who you are and you exhaust your intellect or your social conditioning, then you start to dig deeper. Who am I? Who am I? And you come back to stillness, you come back to source. So when you identify with who you are as an extension of source, but what is source? Infinite creative potential, infinite intelligence, unbounded love, you know, unconditional love. When you identify with your true essence instead of the conditioning and the ideas that you've placed on who you think you are, then trust becomes a non-issue. Do you trust God, or what your idea of God? Do you trust the angels? Do you trust, you know, an exalted guru? Because you're identifying them with this idea of God. Do you trust an expert at something? So we, all of us, are experts at anything we deem we're experts at. Because we are infinite creative potential. There is nothing that we cannot be, do, and have. There is nothing we cannot be, do, or have. The only thing that stops us is how we identify ourselves. I can't do this, I can't do that. Perfect. Who am I? Who am I? Who am I? And so that exercise of going into meditation and asking yourself, who am I? I think you can even write it down, like write down, I'm this, I'm that, I'm that, until you exhaust. And then just keep, who am I? Who am I? And find that essence of who you truly are and really establish that as your identity. So how I live my life at the moment is, people always talk about get rid of the ego. Like, I worked with a group of people in Sydney putting on teachers every night here called the Academy of Light. And we would showcase a teacher and do a meditation and have a small gathering. It was beautiful. And I facilitated that for many years. And that's another long story I won't go into. But now I've lost my train of thought. Who am I? Who am I? No, I've lost it. It'll come back to me.
Oh,
I was going to make a point and I went into too much
oh,
detail.
okay. Well, I'll share something and then it'll come back. Okay. I did Avatar, which is a series of programs that was created by Harry Palmer, where he collated things from everywhere. And I went all the way through Wizard. So I think on one of my birthdays, I realized, oh, I keep having the same stories reappear. Maybe it's me because I'm inviting these same people into my movie that show me, and of course I'm projecting it's all them. It's all them. And then after you go, oh, I'm the variable. I'm the same. I'm in the movie over and over again. So I took it and
Love it.
in the second class, so I think I took 5 classes. I just kept taking them because I just knew it was time to release all that would release. And one of the things they did in the second class, it was called, I think it was called Masters, something like that. Anyway, they did a thing called source list, and it was like 8 statements that you had to be able to say before you could go on to the next module. And it was, I am source. That was the clincher that lots of people couldn't do, because they could say, I'm aligned to source, I work with source, but they couldn't see themselves as source. And I thought that was fascinating. The other thing was that there were hundreds of people at this event in all different cultures. So there were people from Spain, from Japan, from South America. There were people from all over the world who all had trouble identifying themselves as source. And that stuck in my awareness, like, oh, it's the human condition. It isn't just conditioning. It is species wide. We all want to love our children. We all want to have relationships, mother, father, whatever. All of those from 0 to 7-year-old traumas or stories we told ourselves can be rewritten. But I just thought I'd bring that up about source because it was fascinating. There were people that took them 5 hours to get through that little list because they just couldn't do it. And it was that statement.
We have been so conditioned that God is a thing outside of ourselves, so much better and higher than us. To be an extension of that energy is a huge quantum leap for so many people. And yeah, like I remember reading Shirley MacLaine books in my early 20s. And if you watch the movie Out on a Limb, the spiritual teacher she has asks her to stand on the beach and look at the ocean and put her hands out and say, I am God. And she's like, I can't say that. I can't say that. Like, we're conditioned we can't be God. I remember I was catering at the time in the film industry and I was reading the Conversation with God books, right? And Neil Donald, so God through Neil Donald Walsh, or the energy that calls itself God through Neil Donald Walsh, says repeatedly, there's no one else in the room. There's only one of us in the room. You are God and so am I. We're all God. I like that. And that was just really hammering the message home. I remember catering. I was with this fabulous guy, Mark, who owned the catering truck. And I'm like having this conversation out loud and he's not reading the spiritual books. It's like, we've been conditioned to think that God is different to us, but we are all God. We're all God. Like this. And he's looking at me going, okay, can you make the salad? What I was going to say before about ego and personality, the people that ran the groups used to say repeatedly, I want to lie my ego at the foot of the guru. I want to get rid of my ego. I want to get rid of my ego. Everyone's always trying to get rid of their ego. But what I've learned is to love the ego, because I understand that all those parts of me that's separate, that gives me the illusion that I am separate to source, which is the function of the ego. We come into this dense environment to experience contrast. And the way that we experience it is we have to believe that we are separate to source. We are separate to love. We are separate to power. We are separate to the creative infinite potential of who we are. And in doing that, when we experience the contrast to love or to God or to source, then we reach back to reconnect. So when we feel sad, we want to feel better. When we feel alone, we want to feel connected. When we feel poor, we want to feel abundant, And so in that asking, It gives us that creative potential of who we are as humans. When there is a problem, we seek solution because we feel separate from the answer. So we seek the answer. And that is the beauty of this world. And so I think we've got to love that aspect of us that is ego, that gives us that illusion that we are separate to source, not resist it, not try and get rid of it, but to love it, to love it and say, thank you. It's like going, I often see this world as a fun park, you know, where you go and you can be terrified or you could be elated, like you can go on the Big Dipper and your stomach will come out of your mouth because you're terrified with a house of horrors, and you can be scared, or you can, you know, go on rides which are fun and laugh your head off and eat cotton candy or whatever you can do. I see life like a big fun park. So someone had to build the fun park where you can be terrified or you can be elated, and all is available here on earth. So we might as well play and enjoy it rather than resist it and push against it and say, wrong, no, you're wrong, this is wrong, you know, God is this and you are not God. Because God created all of it, you know, source, that energy, that infinite creative potential created all of it. And it is all God, for a better word. And so how I navigate my life now is I see my body and I see my ego and I see my personality, and I love her as a character in my play. Like, I invented her. And she, you know, worries about being overweight and worries about getting old. And she does all those human things. But I can sort of step back and like love her. So I can don that higher potential that doesn't judge and can love the contrast. And that is just a beautiful way to live your life. That's when you're, but you don't want to get rid of some people think that the ego is the personality. The ego is not the personality. The ego is part of the personality, but the personality can remain when we exit the matrix and we leave behind the mechanism that gives us the illusion of separation. So when we die and we reemerge back to pure positive energy and we realize that we were one with all of it all along, so we've let go of that aspect of us that gave us the illusion of separation, but we retain the personality. One of our members died in our group recently in November, and she was in constant drama. She was fabulous, but she used to frustrate me because when she first reached out to me years ago, she just complained about everything, her whole lot. And she had a lot to complain about, you know, like she had a lot to complain about. She was deathly ill and she was living in a trailer park and had no money. And I used to try and sort of steer her in a different direction. I'm like, I'm not your gal, you know, I speak to people who want to take back their responsibility and own their creation rather than be a victim of it. But she changed her tune. She wouldn't let go. She didn't take no for an answer. And she started turning her life around. And so she was full of complaint and drama and couldn't work the tech and was always interrupting everyone on Zoom because she was muted, or she had the dog barking in the background, or the tent was falling down. Like, she was just chaos on legs. But in spirit, she has retained that crazy personality of thinking too fast and you know, like she's the same, but she's let go of all the drama. You know what I mean?
Is that cool?
Beautiful to speak with her in spirit. She's such a master soul, and she's going peachy. She's been talking to all the people, well, not all of them, but a few of the people in the group, and giving them messages about who they are. And like, I see your light. And I see one of the things that she said I had Sandy, another medium, on the show, and we were doing honoring Eris, and we were all channeling Eris. One of the things that Sandy said was, God damn, I didn't know how psychic I was when I was alive. I was so caught up in my drama. I just didn't realize how psychic I was. I came in as a healer and an empath and a psychic, and I was so caught up in all my drama that I didn't, you know, go on that path because I was too busy trying to survive and make money and feed the dog and, you know, fight with my family and everything. But she said, I'm going to come back. She's like so eager to come back. She had such a traumatic life and she cannot wait to get back here. She said that she's so keen to get back. She's not going to wait to be a baby. She's going to be a walk-in. She said, look out. I'm going to come in like a hurricane. I'm going to have bright red hair. You'll know me when I come in. And, you know, she just, from that perspective, she just is loving life and everything she went through. Oh. And we would look at her life and think, wow, that's such a hard life. But from her perspective, in another address, you know, from source, she's just loving all of it.
Oh.
But she still retains that fabulous person. And she even showed me what she looked like, how I knew her. And I said, a lot of spirits kind of show up looking young and beautiful. And she said, yeah, but y'all wouldn't recognize me if I showed up like that, because we never knew her as young and beautiful. We only knew her as old and sick. Yeah, so she's funny. She's funny.
That's great. Well, we'll have to do this again. We're out of time. This went so fast.
I know.
But yeah, and we have so much in common. Oh my gosh. So I can't wait to do this again. But what is the best way for everyone to get a hold of you and to learn more about what you're doing, so that people can possibly work with you and learn from you?
Well, you can reach out to me on the website, KarenSwain.com. I have a Facebook. I've got a few Facebook groups. There's the Inner Sanctum, and there's the Awakening Empowerment Network, which was actually set up for the book series. But anyway, everybody posts all their stuff in there, and I just let them go for it. You know, when you join Facebook groups and you post your stuff in there, they're like, don't promote yourself. This is not for you. But everyone's promoting everything, and I just let them go for it. It's like, yeah, just go for it. Because I didn't sort of follow through on the Awakening Soul series. I'm thinking it's on the back burner. I will one day. It's basically what I've been doing on the show with video, but putting it into book form. And we got one book out, but there's a whole stack of books sort of backed up, ready to, anyway, one day. It might happen, it might not. But so I started that group on Facebook, and then we do the monthly meetings in the Inner Sanctum, where you have a support team where you can meet myself and the tribe and talk about anything you want to talk about, ask questions and meet other people. And once a month or twice a month, I invite someone from the show that you can come and meet on Zoom, and you can quiz them, and a guest teacher. Wonderful. So yeah, we've got all that going on. And I do run courses teaching people how to connect to their spirit guides and all that stuff, but I haven't got anything up at the moment. People are like, when are you going to start your courses again? Soon, soon, soon. There's always so much to do, Kathy.
I understand.
I do private sessions if you want to meet your spirit guide through a private session, or find a past life, or tune into, you know, expand your abilities, or learn about deliberate creation, unravel some of those conditioned thought forms that keeping you stuck. I do that all in private sessions as well. A lot of people like to do private sessions because, you know, they feel freer to talk about themselves when no one else is listening.
Well, who doesn't want deliberate creation and to learn how to do that? I think that's fabulous. Thank you so much, Karen. Karen, I did it right.
Thank you, Kathy.
Thank you, dear. This was wonderful, but we'll do it again, I promise.
For sure.